My name is Clara Whitman, and at my younger brother's law school celebration, my family decided my savings belonged to him. They did not ask. They did not warn me. They did it in front of 40 relatives, under gold balloons and a banner that said, "Congratulations, Nathan." My father lifted his glass. My mother cried. Nathan smiled like the world had finally recognized his greatness. Then my Aunt Marlene looked at me and said, "Clara can help with tuition. She has no children." The table nodded. Not one person looked surprised. That was when I realized the party had never been only a party. It was a stage, and I had been invited so they could trap me on it. I said no. The room went silent so quickly I heard ice shift in my uncle's glass. My mother stared as if I had cursed in church. My father lowered his drink and asked me to repeat myself, because refusing to finance another adult's dream apparently required confirmation. I said it again. No. By midnight, I was the villain. By the end of the week, nobody spoke to me. And by the end of the month, a professor from Crestmore Law called my office and asked why my brother's application essay described my childhood, my scholarship, my father's debt, and my mother's illness, all under Nathan's name. That was when I understood. They had not only wanted my money, they had already taken my life. Halfway through dessert, my father stood and tapped his glass. Everyone quieted instantly. That should have warned me. In my family, nobody quieted that fast unless they already knew the script. My father placed one hand on Nathan's shoulder. My mother pressed a tissue to her eyes before anything emotional had happened. Then Nathan stood. "I got into Crestmore Law," he announced. I clapped too. For a few seconds, I was happy for him. Then Nathan looked at me. Not warmly. Expectantly. My mother saw the look and smiled. It was not a proud smile. It was a negotiating smile. "We are all so blessed," she said. "Nathan has worked hard, and now the family will help him step into his calling." My father nodded. "We all contribute where we can." Aunt Marlene leaned forward. "Clara is in the best position to help." My fork stopped halfway to the cake. "Excuse me?" She laughed as if I were slow. "With tuition, you have that investment account. And no children. No mortgage either." Several people nodded again. My mother reached across the table. "Honey, nobody is saying you have to pay for everything. Just the first year," my father said. "Once scholarships and loans come through, we will adjust." Nathan lifted both hands, performing humility. "I hate even needing help, Clara." That almost made me laugh. Nathan had never hated needing help. He hated when help came with receipts. I looked around the table. Nobody avoided my eyes. They were too comfortable, too prepared. They had built the moral argument before I arrived. "Who decided this?" I asked. My mother blinked. "Clara. Who decided my money was part of the plan?" My father's face hardened. "Don't start." That sentence unlocked every holiday where I had been told not to start. Every birthday where Nathan's problem became everyone's emergency. Every year I sent grocery money, covered car repairs, paid off a credit card, and then listened while my parents praised him for trying. I placed my napkin beside my plate. "I'm not paying Nathan's tuition." Aunt Marlene said, "Well, that is selfish." There it was. The family hammer. Selfish. The word they used whenever I remembered I had a spine. My father leaned in. "Your brother has a chance to make something of himself." He already had chances. My mother whispered my name like a warning. I kept going because stopping would have been surrender. I worked 2 jobs through college. I applied for scholarships. I took loans. I paid them back. Nobody held a dinner to announce which relative would rescue me. Nathan flushed. "This is different." "Of course it is," I said. "It is you." My mother cried harder, not because she was hurt, but because tears had always been her sharpest weapon. I stood. My father said, "Sit down." I did not. Nathan said, "Clara, don't ruin this." I looked at the cake, the candles, and the people who had come to witness my surrender. Then I picked up my purse and said, "I didn't ruin anything. I just refused to fund it." By morning, the messages began. Nathan sent nothing. That was his style. Let everyone else throw stones, then appear wounded later. For 2 weeks, I heard from nobody. Then, on a Wednesday afternoon, my office phone rang. I work as a grants director for a literacy nonprofit in Columbus. Most calls are from donors, schools, Or partners, confused by paperwork? I answered without thinking. This is Clara Whitman, a man's voice said. Miss Whitman, my name is Professor Adrian Cole. I teach at Crestmore Law School. Do you have a few minutes? My stomach tightened. Crestmore. I asked if Nathan was all right. There was a pause. That is why I am calling, he said. I serve on an admissions review committee. Your name came up during a verification process. My name? Yes. In connection with an application essay submitted by Nathan Whitman, I sat back slowly. Professor Cole continued carefully, like someone crossing thin ice. The essay describes growing up as the primary caregiver for a chronically ill mother, working nights to support a younger sibling, earning a full scholarship after being rejected by several schools, and founding a prison literacy initiative during college. Those were not Nathan's experiences. They were mine. My mother had lupus when I was 16. My father lost his job the same year and hit a gambling debt until creditors started calling the house. I worked at a grocery store after school and cleaned offices on weekends. I helped Nathan with homework while my mother slept through pain medication. I wrote scholarship essays at 2 a.m. on a borrowed laptop with 3 missing keys. In college, I volunteered at a women's correctional facility because my roommate's aunt was incarcerated. I later built that volunteer program into a funded literacy initiative. It was the reason I got my first nonprofit job. I had told those stories at family dinners, in applications, in speeches, in moments I thought were safe. Nathan had gathered them like loose coins. Professor Cole asked, Miss Whitman, are you still there? I forced air into my lungs. Yes. Did you assist your brother in writing this essay? No. Did you grant him permission to use these events as his own? No. Another pause. Would you be willing to speak with our review board confidentially? I asked. Is Nathan already accepted? Provisionally, Professor Cole said, pending final review. I agreed to send documents. Then I opened the folder on my laptop labeled Personal Archive. The phrases were almost identical. Not inspired by me. Not loosely similar. Stolen. Nathan had written, I learned justice begins at the kitchen table, while caring for my sick mother and protecting my younger sister from unpaid bills. I had no sister. He did have one. Me? By the time I finished comparing documents, anger had moved past fire and become something colder. I did not call my parents. I did not call Nathan. That was the old Clara, the one who still believed confrontation could create honesty. Instead, I sent Professor Cole everything. 3 days later, my mother called. I watched her name flash until the ringing stopped. Then my father called, then Aunt Marlene, then Nathan. I answered Nathan's second call. He did not say hello. What did you do? His voice was thin, panicked, stripped of charm. I closed my office door. What did I do? Crestmore is reviewing my admission. Yes. Because of you. Because of your essay. He cursed under his breath. You don't understand how competitive law school is. I almost laughed. You are explaining competition to the woman whose life you plagiarized? I borrowed themes. You used my mother's illness. She's my mother too. You wrote that you supported the household. I was a kid. Exactly. His breathing sharpened. Clara, listen. I needed a strong narrative. Everyone exaggerates. You didn't exaggerate. You replaced me. For the first time, he had no answer. Please. If they revoke this, Dad will never forgive me. There it was again. Not remorse. Fear of consequences. I said, Nathan, you should have thought of that before you turned my life into your costume. He hung up. That evening, I drove to my parents' house because my mother left a voicemail saying she was too upset to breathe. I should have stayed home. But the oldest daughter in me still responded to emergencies, even fake ones. My mother looked up. How could you do this to your brother? I said. Interesting opening. My father pointed at me. This is not the time for sarcasm. No, I said. It is the time for facts. Nathan turned. I made one mistake. You submitted an entire false identity. My mother flinched. Don't say it like that. How should I say it? Say he was desperate, she snapped. Say he was under pressure. Say he looked up to you. I stared at her. Looked up to me? He did not write about the family he came from. He wrote about the daughter you trained everyone to ignore. The room shifted. My father's jaw tightened. We never ignored you. I turned to him. When Mom was sick, who drove Nathan to school? He said nothing. Who filled out his financial aid forms? Silence. Who paid the electric bill when your card declined? My mother whispered. Clara, stop. No. You all wanted a family meeting. Let's have one. Aunt Marlene crossed her arms. This bitterness is ugly. I looked at her. So, is volunteering someone else's savings at a dinner party? She looked away first. Nathan stepped forward. Fine. I am sorry. Is that what you want? The apology landed like a receipt from a broken machine. I asked, what are you sorry for? He threw up his hands. For the essay. What part? All of it. Name one thing. His eyes moved to our parents, then back to me. I knew then he could not do it. Not because he forgot, but because naming the theft would make it real. I opened my bag and pulled out a folder. Inside were copies of the essay comparison, the newspaper clipping, the scholarship letter, and the email from Professor Cole confirming receipt of my documents. I placed them on the coffee table. My mother did not touch them. Nathan did. He flipped through 2 pages, went pale, and whispered, You sent all this? Yes. You are trying to destroy me. No, I said. I am refusing to be used as building material. My father slammed his hand against the mantel. Enough. I looked at him and said, I am done funding lies. My mother cried again. We are your family. I nodded. That used to make me stay. Nathan's phone buzzed. He looked at it. His face changed before he unlocked the screen. What? My mother asked. He did not answer. My father took the phone and read the message. The review board had suspended Nathan's provisional admission pending a formal conduct hearing. My mother made a sound like the floor had opened. Nathan sat down hard. Aunt Marlene whispered, Oh, Clara. As if I had written the email. As if I had forged the essay. As if I had carried Nathan's hand across the keyboard. My father looked at me with a hatred I had never seen clearly before. Are you happy now? That question should have hurt. It did not. I said, no. But I am honest. I left before anyone could ask me to fix what I had revealed. Nathan's girlfriend, Elise, called from a blocked number. I almost ignored it, but something made me answer. Is it true? I asked what Nathan had told her. Elise said, Clara, I read the essay. He showed it to me months ago. I remember thinking it was intense, but he said he hated talking about that part of his life. Of course he did. I told her the truth. Just dates, places, documents, facts. When I finished, she was silent. Then she said, He proposed last month. I had not known that. With what ring? She gave a short, humorless laugh. His grandmother's diamond, he said. 2 days later, Elise returned the ring in a padded envelope with a note that said, You deserve more than a receipt for other people's lies. I cried when I read it. Not because of Nathan. Because a stranger had believed me faster than my own family ever had. Crestmore held the conduct hearing without me present, though Professor Cole told me my documents were included. Nathan withdrew his application before they issued a final finding. That was how my parents described it to relatives. Withdrew. As if he had chosen dignity. As if he had not been running from a verdict. Nathan moved back into my parents' house. My father paid for an online master's program instead. My mother told everyone God closes doors for mysterious reasons. I did not correct them. Then one Sunday, my grandmother called. She said, Clara, I want to hear it from you. So I told her everything. She listened without interrupting. At the end, she said, Your grandfather would have been ashamed of them. I cried then too. The strange thing about leaving a family role is that nobody holds a ceremony for you. There is no graduation from being the responsible one. No certificate for finally refusing to be useful. You just stop answering certain calls. You stop explaining obvious harm. You stop arriving with your checkbook disguised as love. 6 months after the dinner, my mother mailed me a birthday card. Inside, she wrote, We hope you can soften your heart. I stared at those words for a long time. Then I wrote back one sentence. My heart was never hard. My boundaries were simply late. I did not hear from her again for 3 months. During that time, my life became quiet in a way I did not know life could be quiet. I went to work. I came home. I joined a pottery class and made terrible bowls. I had dinner with friends who asked what I wanted instead of what I could provide. I began sleeping through the night. One afternoon, Professor Cole emailed me. He said the situation had led Crestmore to revise part of its essay verification policy. He thanked me for my integrity. Integrity. That word stayed with me longer than any insult my family had thrown. For years, they had called my obedience love, my exhaustion loyalty, my silence maturity. But integrity was something else. Integrity was telling the truth even when the lie benefited people you were trained to protect. A year later, Nathan called. I almost did not answer. When I did, he sounded older. I am in therapy, he said. I waited. Mom thinks I should ask you to come for Thanksgiving. Of course she does. But that is not why I called. For once, he did not rush. He did not perform. He did not beg. I read the essay again, he said. After everything, I realized there was almost nothing of me in it. I said nothing. He breathed out. I don't know who I am when I am not being rescued. That was the first honest sentence I had ever heard from my brother. I wanted it to fix something. It did not. But it mattered. I told him. Then find out. Without taking from me, he said. I know. Maybe he did. Maybe he did not. That was no longer mine to manage. Before we hung up, he said, I am sorry for stealing your story. For the first time, he named it. I accepted the apology, but I did not offer access. That is another lesson people hate. Forgiveness does not mean reopening the door for the same thief. That Thanksgiving, I stayed home. I roasted a chicken too large for one person, burned the carrots, drank wine from an expensive glass, and watched rain move down my kitchen window. It was not lonely. It was peaceful. The next morning, I deleted the family group chat permanently. Not because I hated them, because I finally understood that love without respect is just another word for ownership. And I was no longer available to be owned. People ask whether I regret telling Crestmore the truth. I regret many things. I regret every time I handed Nathan money and called it helping. I regret every apology I gave to keep dinner from becoming uncomfortable. I regret believing that being easy to love meant being easy to use. But I do not regret the truth. Nathan did not lose law school because of me. He lost it because he built his future on a stolen foundation and blamed the floor when it cracked. My parents did not lose their daughter because I became cruel. They lost access to the part of me that confused sacrifice with belonging. And me? I did not lose a family that night. I lost a job I had never applied for. Caretaker, bank account, cleaner of messes, keeper of secrets, proofreader of lies. I had been hired for all of it before I was old enough to understand the contract. The night Nathan's admission fell apart, my mother said I had destroyed his chance to become a lawyer. She was wrong. I was not refusing to help raise a lawyer. I was finally refusing to raise grown adults.